and I think there's prestige, there's challenge.
I don't know, rocket scientist. I mean, I'm sitting here with a backup car. What do you think?
Let me tell you something. When that thing's out there sideways, you better have some muscle, you better have some brawn, because she's an animal.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Guys, you know what this is all about. So have a good day today. Nice, easy on all the pit stops. Nice and smooth, no mistakes. Hit our buttons, hit our jack post, get a full of fuel. No problem whatsoever. Let's go get him.
Tighten your belts up. Ready? All right, man, here we go. Tighten the cars off. 2, 1, green flag.
It's Saturday morning. Welcome in, racing fans, 1320K fan, the sports leader, Shane Beck here along with Steve Schoenfeld. And Steve, we've got a big show in store for the listeners out there this morning.
Yeah, we do. I'll tell you, I'm really excited about this. I'm almost speechless, and I know you find that hard to believe, but this is going to be an awesome show today.
Should be a lot of fun. We'll start it all off with NHRA drag racing. We're going to bring on a Top Fuel legend, Shirley Muldowney, to join the show here. You want to stay tuned for that coming up here in just a few minutes. Also, we're going to talk AMA Supercross as the guys head into Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. We'll talk about that. Lots happening there.
Just a little.
Yeah, just a little going on there. World of Outlaws, we'll give you an update on that. We'll go to insider Kyle Luters and tell you what's happening there. As we neglected it last week. We didn't talk a lot about that at all, actually, about World of Outlaws. I guess a little bit.
Well, a little bit about what went on
Vegas,
in Vegas. But, yeah, there was a lot going on last week.
Yeah, so we'll recap the series. Also, NASCAR, the Cobalt Tools 400, had a great time at Las Vegas. Hope you went down. Hope you had a great time. In fact, we'd like to hear some of your stories about Vegas in the second hour, so we'll open up the phone lines and hear what you did down there, and who were some of the stars that you saw down there, because we
there
sure
was
saw
a couple.
ton. Yeah, we saw quite a few, had a great time down there in Vegas. Plus, lots happening in NASCAR in the storylines, still the saga with Kevin Conway, Robbie Gordon racing, and also a lot of hype over Danica Patrick's top fourth place victory at NASCAR. So we'll talk about that in the second hour. NHRA drag racing, Gator Nationals happening this weekend. We thought we'd reach out to one of the legends in NHRA drag racing. You know, females seem to be more and more these days in drag racing, in NASCAR, in all of motorsports. We see it on the local level. We see it on the national level. And this lady here, she pretty much paved the way for a lot of these ladies. We'll bring her on now. Let's welcome her in. How you doing, Shirley?
Great.
Hey, good to have you on the show.
Thank
Shirley
you.
Muldowney joining us here in Salt Lake City. And, you know, as I talk with you here, you are an icon in the sport, and you have certainly paved the way for a lot of women who race in auto racing in all of, like I mentioned, in all of different fashions.
Well, I think my timing was right, but in some ways, in other ways, I was way ahead of it. Too ahead of my time. Got into it when, women weren't, I mean, you didn't say it in the same sentence, women in the pits. It was something that they weren't going to tolerate in the early days, but, I had quite a will. And stood my ground, and it was, for me, it was the right thing to do, and it worked out in a lot of ways really well. Now that there's money in the sport, and there's some compensation out there for the drivers, there's no place for me.
So your timing was perfect and horrible.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I set the groundwork, and now they're making all the money.
Well, you know, from the show of your racing career, Heart Like a Will, how accurate is that depiction with your confrontation with Wally Parks?
Well, that was absolutely true, right down to the letter. I remember it very well, and I'm sure Wally did for a number of years. I think it was a turning point in the sport when I arrived, if you will. I had been racing for a good number of years before I went to the NHRA side. I wasn't forced to, but I wanted to elevate myself in the sport and move on up into the classes, preferably the professional classes, and the way they set the stage for me is I pretty much had to somewhat get on my knees and beg, and I again stood my ground. I was a tough kid to deal with, but I had to be that way. If not, I would have been walked on like an old shoe.
What was the first car that you, not street race, but yeah, I mean there was a lot of that going on at the time, but actually ran at the drag strip?
Well, I ran the cars that I drove to work. I used to work for a newspaper as just a receptionist. I answered the phone and took messages and did a lot of typing. But I drove my street car, 58 Chevrolet, and then a series of Corvettes. We would uncap the exhaust and take the big racing slicks off the top of the car, and where we would ratchet them down and go off to the Wednesday night 8 Mile track, which was a death trap, putting it mildly, and then graduated on up to the quarter mile. But it was mainly on the East Coast. Upstate New York is where I was based, born in Vermont, but lived there until I moved to the Motor City area in 1971.
Your father was a major influence in you pursuing your dream.
Well, he was in some ways. He was kind of crazy in his own right, unleashed. And I was a passenger as a kid, as a tiny little girl. I was a passenger at his mercy. So I can't say that he was the best driver in the world, but there was someone that took some awful chances. But moving on, as a young girl, I took every opportunity I could get to be part of the gang that raced up and down the streets and the back roads, running from the police, and thinking we were so smart but so stupid. I'm lucky to be alive today for some of the stunts I pulled as a teenager.
Folks, we're talking with a Top Fuel legend here, Shirley Muldowney. And Shirley, I have 2 young daughters, and I can't even get them to come to the racetrack. They have absolutely no interest. Was it that you were kind of around the sport? What was?
No. I met a guy. I was working because I thought that working in a car hop restaurant was much better than going to school. So I spent most of my time in this car hop restaurant, where a young group of racing street car, custom car, hot rod type cars, where they hung out, and met a guy named Jack Muldowney. And that's really how it started. He would give me a ride home from work, and we would street race on the way, and somehow, take an hour and a half to go a mile and a half to my house. But that's how it began, and Jack taught me how to drive. I passed the driving test with flying colors to get my permit, but failed the written test. So I haven't told a lot of people that, but I guess it's out now. But the kids today, I'd like to make a quick comment on that.
Sure, yeah.
Chip Ganassi made a just a wonderful, wonderful speech at the Novi Hall of Fame induction ceremony last September here in Detroit, and it stuck with me. And he pretty much said it the way it is. You know, our young people today, they are so into having their hats on backwards, you know, with the crotch of their pants down around their ankles, looking like fools and acting like fools, and you know, with earphones stuck in their ears, walking down the road with really no place to go. And that's what kids are interested in today: iPhones, e-phones, iPads, cell phones. If you know, I had a teenager, my kid wouldn't have a cell phone in school. Not on your life would my kid have a cell phone. But here, this is what they're doing, and what they should be doing is, you know, maybe restoring a little hot rod junk car that they bought for $15. But no, they're all into this high tech stuff that is, I think, a complete total waste of time. I wouldn't play a computer game if my life depended on it, nor would my kids. You know, get out with the lawnmower, build some calf muscles, do something besides all this high-tech stuff that isn't going to get them anywhere. Yeah. And that's what, I'm sorry, but where I'm going with that is that's what's wrong with the young people today. And it's pretty much, I'm repeating what Mr. Canassi said. It's just, you know, it's not what they should be setting their sights on. And I think the racing could be wonderful for so many young people. The doors are wide open, especially for women, and we can move on to that subject right now.
Where have we gone wrong, in your opinion? To, you know, I think the majority of us perhaps weren't raised that way. I never had a cell phone. Where has society gone wrong for the parents to even kind of allow this to happen?
Well, it's sheer, utter, I think, laziness, and you know, maybe the parents wanting to be young again and thinking that's so cool. I watch some of the shows on TV. I watch the music awards, and you know, I want to change the station. It's obscene. You know, they've lost their. I think they're not in touch. With kids today, they're just really, it's either laziness or it's just give them their way, and then they'll get off my back and I can go do what I want to do. It's a matter of the kids today. They need to be taken out. Most of them, when they act the way they act, need to be taken out behind the barn. Absolutely. And that's, you know, I'm from the old school. I may be far, far, far right, but I think that's what the problem is today. It starts at home.
A good old-fashioned whooping. That's right.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. With their hands tied behind their back and no way to get to the cell phone to call the police.
I know my dad's listening right now, but just remember, Dad, I'm an adult. I'm all grown up.
Yeah, well, if I had ever done any of the things that you know, when I was young, most of the time, my mom and dad didn't know I was racing up and down the streets like a fool. But my teacher would say, "Gee, you know, do you think you're going to make a living racing around in these hot rod cars?" Huh.
Yes, I
really?
do.
Interesting, huh?
So, you know, you spent a lot of time on the road match racing with Don Garlitz.
Yeah.
Well, and you came here a couple of years with the famed Muldowney versus Garlitz tour.
I did. Okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, you were here twice. How competitive? How I don't want to say nasty, but how competitive was that? And was it really that big a deal to keep score between the two of you?
Well, it was a knockdown, drag-out rivalry that was for real. I mean, for real. It sold tickets like crazy, and it's still legendary in the sport. He was very difficult once he realized that I was for real. And, he got his doors blown off. It wasn't just me. It was the whole team. We did it as I couldn't do it on my own. I needed a team. I needed people that cared. I needed a good car, a good tune-up. And sometimes we were on, sometimes we weren't. And Don had his day, which he would just relish in. And when he didn't, he was downright ugly. And I stood my ground. I had to. I had to. I couldn't stand for some of the things that he would do and say. But what was most important was who got to the finish line first. And he had crew members, even one, T.C. Lemons, who's just notorious for his one-liners, and he's just a fantastic person and does say it the way it is. And Don complained to him, my God, she spit off both front tires. So we used to do that in the 70s, and we could still rim it to the lights at 250. But I did. I lost both front, the rubber, and it went over the top of the car, and he was complaining that it hit him. Both those tires hit me, and TC said, well, my God, Don, you must have been behind her.
Oh, ouch.
So, yeah, just little stories like that make it interesting. Actually, will make my book interesting when I get the time and find a publisher that will, do it justice. So, Don he was difficult. We did go to Salt Lake on a number of occasions. Great racetrack for its time, a good promoter. I don't know where he is today, but it's in new hands now.
Yeah, his right hand man, it was Bob Ibsen, and
Bob Ibsen.
His right hand man right now is the track manager, and that's Ron Kraft. And still a good promoter.
Interesting. But I went there a couple times in the 90s. Match racing, keep in mind, paid me more. I was able to, recoup more money to buy more parts than I ever did racing the NHRA national circuit. I won a championship and won $40,000. I mean, that's laughable when you look at compare the numbers, what it cost me. It cost me $250,000 to win the championship, to win 40. So, the sport has come out of the ditch, and it's come a long way. I think they've done wonderful things for the sport as it is today. I just feel bad that it skipped over me, if you will.
Take us from where you started to when you won your first world championship, and the feeling of doing that.
Well, I went from funny car, that's the nitro burning, same power plant, but just, a difference in the body, and which, brings in the aerodynamics. But I went from funny car and graduated up to top fuel. The fire potential was ugly back when the cars were so new and young, and in 74 I did the upgrade to my license, and in 77 I won the world championship. So and I had it won by September. It didn't go to November. Just a thing, stats like that they fail to remember, or maybe they don't want to remember, because they being the competitors of today, they're trying to exact what we did in the early days, and regardless of how hard they try, or how fast they go, or how quick they get to the finish line, they can never, ever duplicate what we did.
We're here with Shirley Muldowney. A pleasure to have you on the show, Shirley. I need to ask you, you got the nickname of Cha-Cha, and I've been told that you're really not sure if you really don't like that name. Is that true, or? No,
it's not that I don't like it. I never said that. I took it off the car in the 70s because I wanted people to know my real name. ABC, Wide World of Sports, loved that nickname. And of course, it's catchy. It's easy to remember. It doesn't take up a lot of room on the race car. And Tommy Ivo told me, Shirley, you're making a huge mistake if you don't use the nickname. That's TV, Tommy Ivo. And you don't use the nickname, and you don't paint the car pink. And from that day on, I brought the nickname back, and the fans love it. They go, that was my history. That was when I was, in drag racing. And will you please sign it? So if fans ask me to sign it, I do. If you go into my website, Shirley Muldowney Racing, that's the very first thing you see. A night shot of the car with the throttle down, and of course ID'd by Shirley Cha-Cha Muldowney, and that's okay. I shouldn't complain. I mean, it did a lot for me, if you will. So, and Steve Evans, the late Steve Evans, that was one of his little catchphrases on the PA. to the crowd, "Shirley, don't call me Cha-Cha Muldowney." And, of course, he's the one that started that, and he thought it was real cute. So that's how the misconception began.
Where did you get the name Cha-Cha? Who gave it to you?
In the early 50s, I had this red 58 Chevrolet convertible, all lowered down with, half headlights and big spotlights, and it was just quite a wagon, something you'd see in the inner city in Detroit. But it had a white convertible top and big white walls and slicks, and it was crazy. So I went up to Sanford, Maine to enter the race there one weekend, and when they used to, long story short, when they used to paint the class numbers on the windows in white shoe polish, they did my number, and for some reason the guy wrote Cha-Cha on the side of the car. I had a fit because I thought it was going to stain the paint, but little did I know that I would carry that, for the rest of my life.
Bringing us to today, next weekend, you're the Grand Marshal at the March Meet in Bakersfield.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. It's an event that the March Meet is legendary in the sport. It was considered, even though it's an independent, it was considered one of the big three for many, many years. So it's an event that I have won. Let's see, did I win it twice or did I win it? I think I won it twice. I was runner-up twice, or it might be the other way. 2 and 1. I'm not really sure. But it's an event that you definitely want to have on your resume, and I haven't been there in over 20 years. Certainly as a competitor, but even a spectator. So when they called and asked me to be their Grand Marshal, I thought, oh, God, what a wonderful opportunity to meet the fans, see the track, all the phenomenal improvements that they've made there, and it is nostalgia racing, which I really like. I like those past fuel cars that they've brought back to life. So it'll be a great day for me. Plus, I'm going to be able to sell souvenirs, something I don't do that much other than what I do on my website and when I make personal appearances.
Do you still get a chance to run a car down the strip every now and again?
No, I don't drive. I wouldn't. I get a lot of opportunities, a lot of offers. I am not interested in driving anything other than a fuel car. How do you drive a door car once you've driven a fuel dragster? I mean, I can't even picture that. But if I did, it would be a car that was built for me and maintained and set up by my people, not a bunch of people that I don't even know. That's a good way to get yourself killed.
Yeah, I totally understand. Well, Shirley, it's been just a pleasure talking with you this morning.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for coming on the show with us, and have fun next week there in Bakersfield.
It was certainly my pleasure. I hope to see as many people as I can possibly see one-on-one at the event next week. It should be wonderful. It's a long plane ride for me, but I will grin and bear it. Trust me.
It's going to be a long motorhome ride. I'll see you there.
No, I don't motorhome. No, I'm gonna fly out.
I will. I'll be motorhoming. We'll see you there.
Thank you.
All right, there she is, folks. Shirley Muldowney. Just an absolute pleasure having her on the show with us here. Boy, I tell you what can you say more about that lady?
Well, her last race at the World Finals a couple of years back, she got beat by Corey McLenithan, and they interviewed Corey, and he said, "Everybody's going to hate me. I feel like the person that shot Santa Claus." She always had top-notch equipment. She was always extremely competitive, and man, she was looking pretty good to win the race that day. Actually, little misstep.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to have her on the show with us. All right, Gator Nationals happening this weekend. What are you expecting there at the Gator Nationals?
Well, I'll tell you, they are knocking them out of the park. They have already reset some national records, and it looks like I'm going to win our side of the bet.
It's not over.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. If you don't get in pro stock, if you're not qualified,
he's got 2 more shots
if
today,
you don't
right?
get in the last shot on Friday in the evening in the very best conditions, there's probably a really good chance you're not going to get in. Although his teammate for this race, Alan Johnson, He's qualified number 16. He couldn't get down the track either. So, going to be interesting to see what happens. And there will be some shakeups going into qualifying before the day's over. But right now, Kurt Busch, dead last.
Yeah, ouch. All
right. I honestly think he's got a shot at winning this.
All right, NHRA Drag Racing Top Fuel, Morgan Lucas, current leader, 114 points over Sean Langdon.
You know, 2 teammates, final round. That was a big day for Lucas Oil, and Morgan told his dad, Forrest, stay away. You weren't here. Just listen to it.
Antron Brown sits in third. Del Worsham is in fourth. Larry Dixon is in fifth, followed by Tony Schumacher, Spencer Massey, Doug Colletta, Terry McMillan, Brandon Bernstein, and Steve Torrance.
You know, and I think it's really going to end up being a 3-team horse race this entire year. I think the Lucas Oil team is going to be really strong. The Schumacher team is already really strong, and the All-Anabi team with Larry Dixon, defending champion, and Del Worsham now back in a fuel car. Hang on.
Everybody else can go home now. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't think everybody else can go home. Well, let's see. Terry McMillan knocked the number 1 qualifier, Larry Dixon, off the ladder first round. So anything can happen, but it's going to be a tough field.
In funny car, Robert Height, current lead, 25-point lead over Matt Hagan.
You know, it's going to be a Schumacher force battle all season, just like it was last season. And I'll tell you, right now, you know, Robert Height's team is the only team in John Force Racing that didn't change anything. Same tuner, same crew, same driver, same car. The other 2 cars, different drivers, everything's changed. And it's showing, you know, Robert Height's flexing his muscle. It's going to be a knockdown drag out the whole season.
Another Ford sits right there in third, Mike Neff. Fourth is Ron Capps. Can't count old Ron Capps out. He's a tough competitor. Bruce Pedragon sitting in fifth. John Force is in sixth. Jim Head, followed by Jeff Ferron, Johnny Gray, Fast Jack Beckman, Bob Bodie, and Gary Densham rounding out the top 10. So there is NHRA Funny Car in Pro Stock. Jason Line with the current lead, 17-point lead over Greg Stanfield.
You know, and the horsepower that Summit team makes with Greg Anderson and Jason Line. And I'll tell you, Jason has come around as a driver. He's really struggled at the starting line and got into that winner's circle by his driving ability.
Greg Anderson sits in third, followed by Ronnie Humphrey, who is in fourth. Erica Andrews sits right there in fifth. Nice job on her part, moving up into the top 5. Ron Kreischer is in sixth. Kurt Johnson is in seventh. Vincent Noble is in eighth, followed by Alan Johnson, and V. Gaines sits there in the top 10. That rounds out your top 10 in Pro Stock.
How about that Vincent Noble? Another 19-year-old rookie in Pro Stock. Pretty cool.
He made the show, didn't he?
Oh, Vincent Noble?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's looking good, and so is another 19-year-old kid in there, rookie in there, Buddy Perkinson.
All right, come on, Kurt Busch, you can do it. All right, coming up next, we'll talk AMA Supercross. Stay tuned. You've been listening to The Racing Fan right here on 1320 K-Fan, the sports leader.
You're listening to The Racing Fan with Shane Beck, Steve Schoenfeld, and Russ Sala on 1320 K-Fan, the sports leader.
Thank you guys. I don't believe it. This is awesome. Yes. Dude.
All right, welcome back, 1320 K-Fan.
You know what I mean? We didn't have the
Boy, Shirley Muldowney, she's really... She wants to take care of some youngins out there behind the woodshed.
I told you, if you don't want to know how she feels, don't ask.
Little pants on the ground. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
You think she's onto something there?
I think she is.
I wouldn't want her to be taking me out behind the woodshed. She sounds mean. Hey, good to have her on the show. That was a good interview, by the way.
That was.
You're going to see her next week, right?
I am.
How about getting something signed for some of our listeners or something? You know,
we might be able
Can't we get some memorabilia signed by Cha-Cha?
We'll see what we can do.
You going to work hard on that?
Of course I am.
I want you to come back with something. I don't want you to give me lip service. I want you to come back with something.
I will. I'm going to come
Cha-Cha.
back. I'm going to come back with a pink shirt that says to the drag queen. And I'm going to give it to you.
To the drag queen.
That was awesome.
That was a good interview. She's boy, she is. When you talk to all the old legends,
school racers,
the old school racers, all the legends, it seems like the first thing that always comes out of their mouth is we're not making the money these people are making today. Well, it's like that's the biggest craw in their.
I'll tell you what. There are some of the guys out there, and it doesn't matter whether it's NASCAR, NHRA, whatever the racing discipline is. There's guys out there that if it wasn't for the money, they wouldn't be doing it. And which tells you the old school racers, they weren't doing this. They weren't doing it for the money. They were doing it for the absolute sheer passion and love of whatever sport it was.
They're doing it like you're doing it on the local level. You do it. You don't do it for the money.
Baby, you got that right.
Listen, there is not a racer that races at Rocky Mountain Raceway or Miller Motorsports Park
that does it for the money.
And you take RMR on the oval side or the drag side. There is not a racer that does it for the money. And if they say they do, they're lying.
Oh, I'm with
you
on that.
They don't do it for the money. Now, does the little pop that the track writes you as a little check for going out there, does that help with a couple of tires
it's awesome.
Or maybe a little fuel or something?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But you're not doing it for the money.
Amen.
Guarantee that.
If you are, you're going to be sadly disappointed.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you're fortunate enough to
win everything.
Even if you're fortunate enough to get yourself a decent sponsor, you're still not doing it for the money.
Right.
That just helps.
But
that just helps pay the way.
There are guys out there that I'm telling you right now, in this environment, they are doing it for the money, period.
That doesn't make sense because it costs them more to do it than what they're.
I'm not talking about team owners. I'm not talking about guys like Terry McMillan that are doing it for the sheer passion of doing it. I'm not talking about guys like Strasburg's that do it for the sheer passion and the love of it. I'm talking about some of the hired drivers. I've seen them. I've seen it. I've seen them, and there are guys out there driving race cars for the glitz, the glamour, and the cash.
How are they doing it for the cash? They can't be making.
They're
anything.
They're hired guns, buddy. They're paid to sit in the seat.
Okay, so
I'm not talking about team owner drivers. I'm not talking about Tim Wilkerson guys. I'm talking about guys that are just flat out hired guns.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And yeah, there has to be a certain level of love for it. But I think a lot of them, if they had to do it out of passion and sacrifice to do it, they wouldn't do it. Which makes me respect the guys like the Strasburgs and Terry McMillan and Tim Wilkerson, the guys that are,
sure,
sacrificing hard to do it.
All right, AMA Supercross. This is how it sounded on Saturday last week.
A rough night here at Daytona. Oh! He throws it away at Daytona again! Oh, no! James Stewart had a huge lead of over 6.5 seconds. And now he is walking, beaten and battered toward his motorcycle. There goes Stewart.
James Stewart tosses another one away at Daytona. Man, this guy he grabs the hole shot, Schoenfeld. He jumps out to a hellacious lead, and he tosses it away, missing. I mean, he comes off of a jump, wheelies off the jump, and the front tire hits just right and causes him to flip. And it was a pretty serious accident. And hobbles off the track. He's dazed. He's trying to find his bike. He's doing everything he can to get back on the bike, to get back on the track, and just absolutely blows it. Now, to his credit, comes back and finishes, ninth, I think it was.
They finished ninth.
Yeah, but here again, he has one big lead and is still riding radical at that point, wide open, which I think is all the guy knows is wide open.
Very good friend of mine. Very good friend of mine who's very deep into Supercross and races motocross out at Rocky Mountain, I think said it best. James Stewart is extremely fast, but he's not good. He's fast.
What would make him good? Somebody that could get a lead and realize he has a decent lead and can ride a little bit more cautious?
Those guys do not ride cautiously, but they don't ride stupid. And that was a stupid move. And how many times has he done that? He's fast, he's not good.
You know, the observation, I've been trying to analyze this a little bit. Maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but Stewart, I don't think I've seen him ride like this previously to this year.
Oh,
now,
you mean so when he went off the jump and landed on top of Ricky Carmichael in his rookie season? He's done this since the day he got on a bike.
Well, okay. But listen, when he ran against Chad Reed in 2009 for the championship, I don't recall him riding this radical.
This recklessly?
Yeah.
It's not there's so many variables that these guys have to deal with. And riding wide open, I don't think is one of them. I mean, he had to know if he's any kind of a rider at all. He had to know how far ahead he was on the track. He had to know. They've got spotters. He had to know how far ahead he was, and still, at that point, pushing the envelope.
The guy is just—he's
fast.
He's fast. He's unbelievable. I mean, did you see the complete sick air that this guy was getting off of the rooftop jumps? I mean,
man,
it's
just not
unbelievable.
Shane, but it's not the X Games.
This
is for real, man. This isn't the X Games. This isn't to see how big of air you can get, how far you can stay, just hanging onto the handlebars doing a Superman off a jump. This is the real McCoy.
He's racing for a championship.
Yeah, exactly.
He's racing for Yamaha and all the sponsors,
and that's not to
fans,
demean
the millions and millions of fans.
That's not to demean anything with the X Games, because those guys, and you want to talk about people that push the envelope, that's them. But at this level, at this racing, at this level, now you don't. There's more. You've got to have some style, and not just be fast. And he is fast.
He is certainly fast. He got the whole shot. Ryan Dungey struggled, and Chad Reed both 15th and 12th as far as getting the whole shot. Coming out early. They did finish well. They did finish. Chad Reed ended up finishing second. Ryan Dungey finished up third. They didn't start very good, though. Like I mentioned, Dungey was 15th and 12th at one point, worked their way back up through the field.
I feel so bad. I really do. I feel bad for Dungey. I mean, here he is, the defending champion, and, he is still nailing down podium finishes, but lose a chain, finish last, the DNF. I mean, that killed him in the points. Then last week, kicks up a rock, smacks the case, breaks the case on the engine. How does that happen? How does two things like that happen to the same guy?
They're freakish.
Oh, exactly. And to the defending champion. I mean, back in the day, guys would fold up front wheels. The Bull Tacos were famous for folding up front wheels. They were, all of the bikes had problems with breaking the chains or the chains coming. That stuff doesn't happen now. And yet, here we are. It happened.
Yeah, it certainly did. Made a rough day for Dungey. He ended up, like I say, finishing in the top three, got a podium finish, finishing third. But, what a rough day for Ryan Dungey. Others that had a little bit of a rough day through the moguls, the sand whoops, Metcalf and Kennard, they got into each other. They had a little bit of a tough outing. It seemed like Kennard was having his issues throughout the majority of the race. But Metcalf just lost it, and Kennard basically ran him over. Villapoto, I mean, you can say what you want about Ryan Villapoto. He's probably one of the luckiest guys out there right now.
Man, he is right now.
Supercross. He finished first. It's the first time that somebody has won back-to-back at Daytona since 2002, 2003, when Ricky Carmichael did it. But this guy is in the right place at the right time.
Yes, he has been.
And
consequently,
he ends up getting another win.
And consequently, you look at where he is in the championship standings, and I mean, he's got to fall off the planet to not win this. This now is Ryan Villopoto's season to lose. He's got, I mean, for Supercross, he has a commanding lead.
Yeah, with no question. Ryan Villopoto out of Seattle, Washington, he got the win. He finished first. Chad Reed was second. The kid out of Dade City, Florida, just keeps rocking and rolling on that Honda consistently right there in second, Chad Reed. Ryan Dungey, he finishes in third. How about this? Andrew Short right there in fourth on that KTM, that 350, which is a little underpowered. Now, granted, the bike is quite a bit lighter than the 450.
Yeah, but you get up in the like a Daytona where it's a little bit bigger track. It's not such a tight course. And he's really suffering. So for him to finish fourth, that says quite a bit.
David Millsaps finished in fifth. Another Yamaha rider, David Millsaps. Justin Brayton, a Yamaha rider, he finished in sixth. Kevin Windham was in seventh. Ken Roxon, I like the German here. Ken Roxon, I really like this kid on a 350 KTM. He finished in eighth. James Stewart was in ninth. Wow, James Stewart in ninth. I don't think I've said that for a while.
No, it's been a bit.
James Stewart finished in ninth, and Mike Alessi rounded out the top 10. Another KTM. If you look at it, there's three KTMs within the top 10. That's pretty impressive.
And all of them 350s.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Two Hondas and a couple of Kawasaki, so the rest Yamahas. But, boy, what a great race at Daytona. Now the guys will head to Indianapolis, and they'll compete at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Ought to be a good race at Indianapolis. In fact, this one here will be live on Speed, and you can see that tonight at 5:30 local time here in Salt Lake, live on Speed. So you'll want to catch the race, Lucas Oil Stadium. Should be a very exciting
and
race.
the way they set these tracks up, man, every single one of these, I can't wait till they get here because every single one of these is just enough different that it really throws a quirk in what the riders do, and every race is a tough race.
The championship standings for the Supercross, Ryan Villopoto, he is the current leader, 196-point lead over James Bubba Stewart. He is 173, so he is 23
points out.
23 points outside of first. Chad Reed is right there. He's 172, so he is 1 point behind James Stewart, sitting in third. And then Ryan Dungey in fourth, Trey Kennard in fifth. Andrew Short is in sixth, followed by Brett Metcalf, Justin Brayton. Ninth is David Millsap, and 10th is Kevin Windham.
Hey, looky there. Metty moved up one.
Yeah.
He's been sitting in the eighth all season until this week.
He certainly has. So this is going to be exciting coming to Salt Lake City here in just a few weeks. This is exactly what the doctor ordered, Schoenfeld.
Oh, yeah.
We want as close of a battle at the end when they get to us as possible. You've got Indianapolis here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more events, and then we're here in Salt Lake City April 30th. So it's going to be real good when it gets here, as long as Villopoto can maintain. You know, if he doesn't do anything stupid or his chain doesn't come off or he doesn't catch a pebble.
He has to finish well at each of the races.
Yes, he does. And
a podium finish at each of the races, and he's your champion.
And he's been very good.
He's been very consistent.
He has been very consistent, and he's the guy I picked early in the season. I mean, I wanted to pick Stewart. I think everybody is a fan of Stewart. There's no question, and everybody would pick him.
Quit looking at me. I'm not a Stewart fan.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Don't give me that.
I am not.
How can you not be? He's a good racer.
He's. Did I mention he's fast?
He is fast.
He's fast.
He's
a dirty racer, and he's fast.
I wouldn't say that. Let's not put that name on him.
Oh, come on.
Let's not put that name on him.
Let's look at 2009 where, I disagree.
He's a competitor. He's not dirty. I wouldn't say he's dirty.
Okay.
Let's not label him that.
Okay, let's not label him that.
In the East Lights, it was Blake Baggett who got the win. A nice job for Blake Baggett. Justin Barsha finished second. Ryan Sipes was third. Blake Wharton was fourth. And then P. Larson rounded out the top five in the lights. Josh Hansen is leading the West Lights, and We're looking forward to that battle between Hansen and Barcia, along with Brock Tickle and Blake Baggett. Boy, that's going to be pretty tough. 4 tough customers as the East Lights. Justin Barcia is leading that series with Blake Baggett in third. Dean Wilson is Blake Baggett is second. Dean Wilson is third. Ryan Sipes is fourth. And Blake Wharton rounding out top 5 in the championship standings for the East Lights. And, of course, Josh Hansen is first in the West Lights with Brock Tickle. Eli Tomac is third. Ryan Marias in fourth. And Cole Seeley rounding out the top 5. So it's going to come down to the wire between those guys.
Oh, yeah. Las Vegas. The East meets West. Heck yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Schoenfeld, we've got scheduled next week for Ryan Villapoto to join the show. And we're going to have a twofer. And in the same show, we're going to also have Justin Barcia. Both of those scheduled for next week on the show. So we'll give a little more time to AMA Supercross. So you want to join the show next week and tell all your friends that they'll be live on the Racing Fans.
Live alive.
Absolutely. All right, when we come back, we're going to give you an update on what's going on in the world of Outlaws.
The greatest show on dirt.
Stay tuned, the Racing Fan here. 1320 K-Fan, the sports leader.
You're listening to 3 Knuckleheads, Beck, Schoenfeld, and Saylor on 1320 K-Fan, the sports leader.
All right, let me remind you to go to a website, www.gofastwin.com. Gofastwin.com. By the way, on the TV section there.
Yeah.
Click on TV.
Click on TV.
You can see the Robert Height, John Force interview in our little radio room that we did it in at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in the Media Center. It's on there.
That was fun.
Yeah, having fun playing with that little TV thing. We're going to do a lot more of that as the racing season starts to kick in. So should be a lot of fun. But anyway, that's on there. Robert Height is first, and of course, then John Force comes in, and that's when everything really explodes.
Yeah, it's kind of what a character.
I don't know that he really knows what he says.
He has to. John Force has to. No, well, I don't think he does because if you noticed, he got there and he said, "Did I answer your question?" So no, I'm pretty sure.
And then
he's,
the other thing,
the
other thing you'll see on the video is he keeps touching your knee. I don't know if there's something there or not, but I
would like to know what you told him before. I'm just saying.
He knows you're the drag queen, doesn't he? Russ Sala Jr., good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Hey.
Sporting the Seattle Mariners shirt today. That means spring ball is in the air?
It is indeed in the air.
How's the team looking?
Well, it's still early. I mean, we're going to, obviously, I think as the next couple weeks wears on in spring training, you're going to start seeing clubs now are going to start coming out, and you're going to kind of get an idea of what the rosters are going to look like. But a lot of young guys are Dustin Ackley, for example, Michael Pineda. Some of these other players are getting an opportunity to shine early in spring training, which is what generally most teams do. But within a couple weeks, you're going to start seeing Felix Hernandez, I think, get stretched more. Right now, they're on very limited pitch counts. So,
are we going to see the same Mariners team that we've seen
I don't know.
decade?
I don't know. It's hard to say right now. I mean, last year they just couldn't score runs. They didn't have that meat in the middle of the lineup. That hurt. Their pitching was okay, but when you can't score runs, you can't win games. So we'll see. I mean, that's a big mystery because last year I thought they were going to have a much better year. I really did. Coming off of the year they had before, I'm thinking, hey, Jack Zorenzik's got this team heading in the right direction, but. Wow, that just blew up. Yeah. So you know what? I figure anything is better than last year or even 2 years prior to that. So
my Phillies look like they're doing pretty good this year so far.
Now you're a Phillies fan. Yeah. I forgot.
They're loaded.
Yeah.
Loaded. look out for my Phillies.
He's an Angels fan, and now he's a Phillies fan. Oh, and I suppose that you are a Packers fan right now too, right?
For the time being, yes.
Well, we have no football, so
I'm a World of Outlaws fan.
Are you? Should we talk a little?
I think maybe we should ought to do
how
that.
about that? How about that Cody Dara? Huh? Sitting third in points right now?
Yeah.
He's fast.
He has had a good year so far. But
I'll
tell you, one man who just continues to go out there and run well, no surprise, he has nothing left to prove, is Steve Kinzer.
That is the most impressive
he's
thing.
leading the points.
That is the most impressive thing of the entire sport.
He has 4 wins.
I
wins
know.
this season.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, his most recent win came a week ago at Las Vegas. Joey Saldana won the night before. One of the opener there in Las Vegas, which, by the way, I want to say we had a great time down there.
Old age and treachery.
Thank everybody down there for making our stay pleasant, like they always do.
The racing was good. We couldn't
absolutely,
couldn't get down there in time for the World of Outlaws show.
Dang it.
But I have people that went, and they tell me that it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That it was very good show. Steve Kinzer is the current points leader, followed by Joey Saldana. And you mentioned Cody Dara sitting in third. Jason Sides is fourth. And then Jason Myers sitting right there in fifth, followed by, I'll give you the top 10, followed by Donnie Schatz, who is in sixth, Sammy Swindell in seventh, Craig Delansky is in eighth, Craig Kinzer in ninth, and Paul McMahon sitting right there in the top 10.
Yeah, and Sammy Swindell actually won at Royal Purple Speedway here a couple weeks ago. So, you know what? We're seeing a lot of our veteran drivers continue to run well. Of course, Steve Kinzer, Sammy Swindell, and then mixed in there is Joey Saldana, who is a veteran. And
yeah, he is a veteran, but not of that class.
Well, yeah, who is? I mean, really, who is?
That's exactly.
There's very few.
It just amazes me. It's amazing that with the punishment those guys take in those cars, and they do. I mean, there's no question. They take a lot of punishment.
Absolutely,
in those cars.
yeah.
And to do what they do, and
night in and night out.
I was going to say week in and week out, but it's not. You're right. It's night in and night out. It defies logic. It defies explanation.
I have often compared them to Major League Baseball. They are the Major League Baseball of motorsports with the amount of nights that they race. It's not just once a week. Now, right now, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Because we're just getting started. I mean, the series kicked off at Volusia. Then they had some time off. They headed for Mississippi. And then from there, they went down to Houston and then Las Vegas. And tonight, they're going to be at Chico for the Mini Gold Cup. And then it's off to Hanford, Merced, Tulare, and then Merced. And then they finish off the tour on April the 2nd at Calistoga. So, things are going to start picking up for these guys, especially around June and July, between July and August.
That's when it gets really busy.
Well, that's also the biggest time because that's the month of money. And what I'm excited about this year, too, is the fact that the World of Outlaws will be sanctioning the Knoxville Nationals.
Right on.
So I'm excited about that.
Silver Dollar Speedway tonight. What are you expecting out of Silver Dollar Speedway?
Wow, Silver Dollar Speedway, one of the most legendary dirt tracks in America.
Yeah, out of Chico, California. That's a beautiful area up there, by the way.
Well, and it is. And so many great racers have come out of that. Of course, the Kadings. I mean, there's such a... If you're a sprint car fan, you know the last name Kading. Kading is really... The old man is like the Steve Kinzer in California. The guy's won a ton of races. He's won a lot of championships. He's done so much. In fact, he's probably been one of the greatest ambassadors for sprint car racing in the state of California. And his two sons, Tim Kading, we know about Tim Kading. We know about, we know Bud Kading. Bud Kading, I believe, has actually raced here in Salt Lake City. And I'll tell you, this should be a phenomenal show. And I'm assuming they're going to have a pretty good car count tonight as well. I mean, this is a big event. It's hard for me to bet against Steve Kinzer. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I believe he's a mini gold. I believe he's won 6 or 7 of these mini gold cups. I mean, he's just, you put him on any track, short track, big track, like a half mile, like Knoxville, he'll get it done. he will definitely get it done. So I'll tell you, I wish we were actually there tonight because this should be a great show. Should be a great show.
We need a little silver dollar speedway here in Utah.
Yes, we do. I'm thinking Jason Myers. I think he wants to really, impress home staters. And he's tough.
He is tough, and of course he's sitting.
But he's still got to get around
the top 5 in points.
He's still got to get around Kinzer.
Yeah, here's the thing. I heard you guys talking about James Stewart on the way-in, and you said he's fast but not good. Well, Steve Kinzer's both fast and great.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you call him good, I'm going to reach over there and
he's
smack
both fast and great.
Yep.
And so is Sammy Swindell, and so is Jason Myers. And
fast, great, but has a tremendous amount of style and patience.
Yep. Just make sure you push him off fast because he can be a little impatient with that. But that's just a different story.
Well, very good. Let's shift gears to NASCAR.
And now it's time for NASCAR, brought to you by ITT.com.
All right, in the world of NASCAR, I tell you what, man, Carl Edwards, you talk about good. Right now, he is the best there is right now in NASCAR. Here's what he had to say about his run and he's talking about not just his win, but talking about the whole, how he's looking forward to the season and his run so far.
No, this is the best start to a season that I've ever had, and Daytona could have gone any way. That was there was a lot of luck involved with our good finish at Daytona, but Phoenix was that was a very strong performance from everyone, and we had a little bit of bad luck there. And then I felt like today we had a solid top 3 car all day. So it's it's 3 different types of racetracks with success on all 3. I'm really excited about this season. This is a great start.
What a great start for Carl Edwards and Ford. Getting the win at the Cobalt Tools 400.
Yeah, well, and look, I mean, let's give Carl Edwards a lot of credit for winning that race on Sunday afternoon, the Cobalt Tools 400, the 14th running of the Cobalt Tools 400 Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Carl Edwards the week before had the car to beat at Phoenix. I think hands down he had the car to beat at the Phoenix International Raceway, and unfortunately, early on in this event, he got caught up in somebody else's mess. That somebody was Kyle Busch, and that, of course, ended his chances. Carl Edwards found himself in the garage area rather early in this race. For him to come back 1 week later and win at Las Vegas, I think is such an awesome moment for him. Because, again, they had the car to beat at Phoenix, but had nothing to show for it. And that's racing. I mean, stuff happens. I mean, there's no guarantees. I mean, 3 races in a row now, guys, we've seen the best car not win. Daytona, I thought Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the guy to beat all speed weeks long. Didn't win the race. Instead, it went to one Trevor Bayne, 20 years old, a rookie, second career start. The next week, Carl Edwards got caught up with Kyle Busch. And I don't believe Kyle Busch meant to do anything. I just think it was, the car got out from underneath of him. And then last week, it was Tony Stewart. Stewart had the car to beat last week and unfortunately had a pit road incident, and that ruined his chances. And it was Carl Edwards who had the second best car that went on to win the Cobalt Tools 400.
Well, and you talk about the parity in NASCAR. It's been 2007 since we've seen a repeat winner in the first 3 events. And it's refreshing to see. I like to see different winners. I don't want to see the same guy win, the same Jimmy Johnson or Kyle Busch win, 6 or 7 or 8 straight. I think it's good for NASCAR to see different winners.
Yeah, and if we see somebody win that many in a row, I would be sitting down with Brian France and Mike Helton and saying, "Hey, no, but
maybe not in a row, but maybe over the course
saying.
Of we've seen that with Kyle Busch, who has won 7, 8 races in a year." And we still may see that with some of these guys. But I do like
absolutely.
to see that parity.
I think, and I believe it was Brian France who actually mentioned he loves the competitiveness and what we've seen the first 3 races of this 2011 season. And we've seen these guys racing hard. And, it's like, I believe it was Michael Waltrip who said it. These guys have always raced hard. We've always raced hard. It doesn't matter the year, the car. We've always raced hard, but we're seeing it this year. And I think it's because of car design. I think it's the hard work that NASCAR's done at their Research and Development Center in Mooresville, North Carolina. I think this point system has a lot to do with it. Hey, these guys are already starting to think about the chase. You cannot have too many bad finishes in the course of a regular season leading up to whenever the chase begins. I just don't think you can have too many mulligans.
2 of the 3 races, Daytona and Phoenix, we broke records for lead changes. Las Vegas featured 21 lead changes. That's the most since 2007, track record of 28. Schoenfeld, you seem to think that it has a lot to do with the fuel.
Well, I think a lot of the attrition we've seen with engines in the first 3 races, I'm pretty sure, if my numbers are right, NASCAR teams have lost more engines to this point in the season than they did last season, period. And the big changes, I talked to some guys there in Vegas, and they're pushing them harder. If you're pushing it from 9,200 RPM to 9,400 RPM, I'm sorry, you're pushing it a tiny bit harder, but you're not pushing it harder. It's not like spinning at $7,000 and then going up to 9,400.
Let me ask you this, Steve. Let me ask you this.
The fuel is the difference.
Why aren't teams talking about this?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Because if you walk up and you ask these teams, why are we seeing this? They say, well,
we're pushing them harder. Bull crap.
Well, the other thing to think about here with the fuel is they're running. They're using more fuel to get the same horsepower.
That's
why we're seeing more of a fuel.
They're using more fuel.
A fuel mileage race.
They're using more fuel to get a little bit more horsepower. Actually,
well, okay,
it will make more power,
or a little bit more, or maybe the same. My point is they're going through more fuel. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
They've and so because of that, we're seeing maybe more stops. I just think that I think there's more to the fuel thing than what these guys are really talking about yet. Maybe they haven't really figured that that's the biggest change. But the other thing is we're seeing engines go by the wayside here.
Oh, and
we
lot.
saw that with Kyle Busch last week.
Yeah,
how long's it been since Toyota dropped an engine before the fuel change?
Let alone 3 in a weekend. Yeah, I mean there's other things that play into this. If you've got a gas engine and you go lean, you could hurt some stuff. You're running alcohol. You're running alcohol, and the engine goes lean. Stuff breaks.
Daytona has a brand new racing surface. Goodyear brought an hey, why aren't we talking about Goodyear here?
Goodyear has brought an excellent tire to the first 3 races.
We are seeing a lot of grip. I mean, we're seeing a lot of grip out of these race cars. But Daytona, you have brand new racing surface, brand new tire. NASCAR made changes to the front of the car, to the rear of the car. They were making one change after another. We saw a great race.
Yes.
And I don't think it was just because of the fuel. I think there was a lot more at Daytona that was playing into that than just fuel. I think there was a lot more at Daytona. And you watch whenever we go to Phoenix in November. Brand new track.
Most definitely. You're right. But I think the fuel has to do a lot more with the shuffling up, more pit stops. They're making more stops.
They have to.
They have to. We're seeing fuel mileage gains. That's coming. How long has it been since we've really heard fuel mileage stops?
I don't know. I saw some green flag pit stops last week and the week before.
But
that's what he's talking about.
2011. How many did we see last year? Not very many. We haven't ran into a fuel mileage game. That's where we always talked about Ryan Newman being so strong with the fuel mileage.
Back then the car was so much different, though.
I understand.
Back then, the biggest thing back then, guys, was the car. That's why NASCAR came out with this new car. And if you remember, they also used a larger fuel cell back then.
So
they actually have gone with a smaller fuel cell with this new car.
I know, but
what's caused all these engines to fail?
These engines, if I'm not mistaken, they're burning this fuel off faster.
They have to.
This fuel is burning off faster.
It is absolutely not the same fuel ratio.
And they have a smaller fuel cell, as you mentioned. You said before
Right.
we've had bigger fuel cells.
Right.
So with smaller fuel cell and fuel burning off faster, doesn't that equal more stops?
Well, it has to. Of course it does.
I think the fuel mileage game is coming into a little bit more.
No,
into
and
play
I
here.
think it sounds to me like it's a manufacturer's problem.
Of engines?
Yeah. Toyota.
Richard Childress? How many engines did they lose at Daytona?
They lost 2. At Daytona.
Okay.
How many did they lose at Phoenix?
Oh, how many did
How
Toyota
many did
lose
they
at
lose
Phoenix?
at Las Vegas? That's what I'm saying.
But
that's
I
my
don't think
point.
I think there's
right.
I'm still saying it's the fuel. And part of this is they're saying they're pushing the engines harder. You know why they're pushing the engines harder? Because you make more horsepower on ethanol than you do on gasoline. More horsepower, faster car, more RPM. It all stands to reason. They're pushing them harder because they can, but they're not pushing them that much harder that you're going to see hard parts fail. I think, and a lot of it, I think the majority of it goes right back to what's going in that tank.
So let me ask you this question.
And I think ethanol is by far better than running gasoline.
If you're Robin Pemberton and you're an engine guy, you understand engines.
Yeah.
If you could sit in here with other NASCAR executives, with crew chiefs, with car builders, with representatives from manufacturers, and Shane, I'll pose the same question to you as well. What would you recommend?
Fuel injection.
Which is what they're talking about going to.
Well,
next
yeah,
year.
fuel injection with exhaust monitor. Just like, they're still running carburetors, okay? Indy cars, IRL has been using ethanol for 4 years now? They had issues at first. Those issues are gone. If you've got a fuel injection system and you can monitor the exhaust, your fuel ratio is going to stay.
So it sounds like...
But for the fans' perspective, from a fan's perspective, this is exciting.
Oh, this is very exciting.
2 of 3 races, Phoenix, Las Vegas, had qualifying records fall.
And...
Okay, granted, all of these variables...
everything's
everything involved.
Oh, the front of the car, the back.
Great racing.
They changed the nose of the car dramatically.
Yeah, it's not just the fuel.
No, I'm not.
Nobody,
I'm talking.
I don't think any of us is saying that.
I'm not saying.
You're right.
I am saying the engine issues. I think are a direct result of the fuel.
16 liters per race. We've had an average of 16 liters per race. That's been a while since that's happened. 41 lead changes. Average of 41 lead changes. That's pretty exciting.
That's very exciting.
That's very exciting if you're a NASCAR fan. I thought the race was decent. There were some things that caused some people some track position and some races. Or some
absolutely.
Time. Tony Stewart had the hiccup with the air hose.
Sure.
That cost him. Now, granted, I don't.
That was a major hiccup.
Well, it was early in the race.
I'm telling you,
I think there was more to it.
Darian Grubb's call to take 2 tires is what cost Tony Stewart the race.
Yeah, I think he was in position to win.
But they had to.
They didn't have to take 2. They did not have to take 2 at that time. Everybody else took 4.
It was all about track position at that point in time because they shot themselves in the foot earlier in the race.
Let me explain it to you. They took 2 tires. They took a chance at taking 2 tires. In the post-race, Bob Osborne said if Tony's car hadn't have worked the way it did, they would not have taken 2 late in the race. Period. They were doing 4 tire stops. They were not going to do 2 tire stops. Darian Grubb, we got to get track position, take 2 tires. They are out there. That car was a rocket. And it was a rocket all day.
It was the best car.
But when they saw how that worked for him, his left sides are wore out. He's got to take 4. Everybody else takes 2. He lost track position. That cost him. Now, if they would have waited until that last stop to take 2 and everybody else takes 4.
So with what took place
Tony Stewart wins the race.
With what took place on pit road, did that have any effect, you guys think, on the outcome of this race?
As far as dragging the impact wrench out in the No.
Really?
Nope.
I personally think it was early enough in the race.
That's exactly it. Well, he did make it up.
I think it was more. You're right.
He did make it up. There's not even a question.
And that's what cost them. They had to take 4. Everybody else took 2. You talk about track position. That's exactly what happened. I think they had an opportunity.
So the reason he lost, it had nothing to do with what happened on pit road then.
Well, it happened too early in the race. Really, it did. It happened early enough in the race. Tony made it up. I mean, that car absolutely was the best car on the track, and it was the best car on the track all day. And Carl Edwards made note of that. And he said, when they told him, well, Stewart had a pit penalty, his spotter did. Stewart's got a pit penalty. He's at the back of the line. And Carl Edwards said, oh, that's okay. He'll be back up here in a minute.
Yeah, I don't know.
And he was.
483-1320, 470-1320, 670-1320. If you want to comment, give us a call. Here's what Tony Stewart had to say. It killed him, he said, to give up that track position.
I probably should, but that's not my makeup. I mean, it kills me to throw a race away like that, and especially at a place we haven't won at yet. I mean, this was a big deal today, and when you lead that many laps and have a car that's that fast and you lose it, you don't. I'm sure tomorrow, when the emotion dies down, we'll look back and say it was a great weekend, but man, it does not sit good right now.
So tough on Tony there. You're right. He was the car that should have won that race, but it didn't fall that way. It was Carl Edwards who got the win, and that's how it rolls sometimes.
Well, and especially when you figure late in the race, Carl was, and he admitted he didn't. I don't know if I was hearing ghost noises or what, because I was leading, 5 to go. He said, but I was having to baby the engine because it was making some noise on the top end. When he'd start winding it out, he says, I was afraid it was going to let go.
That's interesting. Never knew that.
But when it's all said and done, we saw the backflip.
And it was a perfect landing, by the way. I thought it was a great backflip. I had a great time at Vegas. We got to see some stars there, Probably the biggest star was
Brock Lesnar.
Big Brock.
Absolutely the biggest.
What a beast.
Oh,
that guy's
good.
a monster.
How about
man.
Chad Greenway? Chad Greenway was there.
Chad Greenway?
From the Minnesota Vikings.
Paris Hilton. You were eyeing her up and down. Boy, did the fans boo her. What was up with that?
She's a skank.
They didn't like her, did they?
No.
So she was there, huh?
Paris Hilton?
So,
yeah.
And
with her little dog in the purse, the whole 9 yards.
I'll do a Tony Stewart on you. I don't know what race you were watching.
Yeah, what race were you watching? You weren't watching the one I was driving in.
And I'll give you another Tony Stewart response. I'm not there for that. I'm there for the race.
Oh. Well, she walked right across the stage.
Oh, they introduced her.
Unfortunately, my credential didn't allow me to go out there. So
I just heard him
not
say
high
it.
enough in the clout.
I heard him say it, and I hustled over
to
to a garbage can just in case I honked. Yeah. Boy, there's a role model
there were so many lookalikes there. I don't know, like Kid Rock. It wasn't even Kid Rock, but it was,
He was close.
Oh, he was. In fact, at first I thought it was.
And then
at first I really thought it was.
Chris Angel.
Yeah,
Steven Tyler.
Yeah, Steven Tyler. The guy sounded like him. Everything looked like him.
You know what? The guy that was pretending,
imitating.
Uh-huh. I got so excited because he sounded like Steven Tyler.
Oh, yeah.
He really did.
Yeah.
Kid Rock did not sound like Kid Rock.
Austin Powers.
Oh, yeah.
I saw him, Brooks and Dunn. Of course, Elvis. Yes. Lots of Elvis. So when I heard Paris Hilton, I thought it must be a lookalike.
Elvis was not happy at my comment to him. He come out.
Boy, he wasn't.
He come out of the green room, and I said, he changed that from his Elvis clothes into his street clothes.
Uh-huh.
And I made a little wise comment to him. I said, Elvis is leaving the building. He looks over at me and says, you don't think I've heard that one before?
All right.
Today? I don't think so. Not today. Well, he was a little testy.
He was.
Do you know why? Because he sucked when he sang. He choked. So,
And by the way,
you probably don't get a lot of opportunity to perform in front of 180,000 people. Yeah, I'm sure the nerves were lit a little bit.
I thought the Force family was treated like royalty down there, by the way, sitting up on the boxes there during Saturday's race, watching the race. We treated them like royalty, letting them have our seat there at lunch.
Absolutely. And it was a big day for Ford, man. That paid dividends.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, did you get a chance to go over to the Midway where the the T-shirt?
No, I didn't go over there.
Holy
your credential didn't
cow!
allow that.
You should have seen the people at the John Force Funny Car Traveling Roadshow. That was pretty. It was pretty cool.
All right, when we come back, we'll give you the championship standings in Sprint Cup Series. Stay tuned. The Racing Fan here, 1320 K-Fan, the sports leader.
Now back to my boys, Beck, Schoenfeld, and Sela on 1320 K-Fan, the sports leader.
All right, welcome back, 1320 K-Fan, the sports leader. Shane Beck here along with Steve Schoenfeld and Russ Sela Jr. Of course, Travis behind the glass doing a fantastic job keeping us running. We appreciate that. GoFastWin.com. Check it out. You can replay our shows on the website, GoFastWin.com. Also, we try to keep you up to speed on the latest racing news there, as well as our little TV section. We haven't really done a whole lot with that, but that's to come as the local scene starts to get going. We're gonna have some fun with that. Videotape some fans, whatever.
Realize we're like a month and a half away from the local scene kicking off here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to believe. I mean, I think the first oval track race, April 30th? Is that the date?
Yep, opening date.
That's opening day.
And then Miller Motorsports Park, they're getting ready to kick off their 2011 season as well. So
they're actually
30th?
running the karts right now. I mean, you can go out there and race the karts out at Miller Motorsports Park. So it's
in fact, isn't it the K&N
K&N Pro Series?
They will be there that Saturday.
I'm telling you, April 30th is a decision that the motor fan is going to have to make. He's going to have to decide where he wants to spend his dollar on April 30th, because you got the K&N Pro Series.
Now that's actually an afternoon race, right? The Saturday afternoon. Okay.
I think really the only real decision is between the oval track and Supercross.
Yeah,
because the K&N Series will be done, so you can go out to Miller's, watch the K&N Series on the road course. Then you have to decide.
Then you've got the opener for Rocky Mountain Raceway, which features sprint cars. And then at Rice-Eccles Stadium, you have the biggest show on dirt, arguably. Supercross.
It's a tough decision.
So you've got to decide where you're gonna spend that cash.
I guess where's your first love? I guess that's our flip a coin. Because either way, they're both going to be great shows. So. And I believe, isn't Supercross, won't they be in the finishing stage of their championship series by then?
It's the next to last race.
Okay, well, there you go. I mean, there's that's quite a plug right there.
Okay, but then he said sprint cars. Yeah.
By the way,
could you make it any harder?
By the way, let me just tell you something that we're doing here. My racing will be underway April 23rd. We're running the late models, and we race April 23rd at Twin Falls. And we're going to do something different here with the racing team. Of course, I don't know if it's any secret. I'm helping Eric Reed.
I knew that.
And we're working together with this team, and we're going to be working. Hopefully, we haven't talked to a couple of the tracks yet, but we're working to broadcast the race, the main event, back to Salt Lake City when we go out of town with these late model races at ericreed.com. In fact, folks out there may want to go check it out. Eric's got brand new colors he's rolling out with. Pretty excited about. We got a 2-car team. Nice trailer, everything rolling so far.
Who's the teammate?
Well, we're running a backup car, but we're not going to tell you who's going to be running the second car until Salt Lake. But we're going to run a second car. It's a wily veteran.
So we have a major announcement.
Well, we're
forthcoming.
We're kind of keeping that under wraps right now. But we're going to run 2 cars in Salt Lake at one of the events here, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm excited about the TV part, because I know there's a lot of Rocky Mountain Challenge Series fans, and you can either watch it live, or you can go there the next day and watch it at ericreed.com and check it out. So if you're a late model fan of the Rocky Mountain Challenge Series, you may want to note that.
And that's a great series.
Yeah. So
it's even if you're not a fan of Eric Reed, if you're just looking for a race on that particular night, tune in.
Yeah, it's going to be,
that's a great series.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a good racing year. So pretty excited about that. But anyway, lots happening in the world of racing. Kicking off here April 30th in Salt Lake Valley. And when does the drag racing season get going at Rocky Mountain Raceway?
The first major event will be over Memorial Weekend.
Memorial Weekend.
Yeah, my season kicks off next Friday.
You heading to Bakersfield?
Heading to Bakersfield.
You gonna hobnob with Shirley Muldowney?
Yeah, she probably, now she's been on the show, she probably won't even give me the time of day.
All right.
Not that she would have before.
Championship standings for the Sprint Cup Series. Tony Stewart. He is deadlocked with Kurt Busch, 113 points apiece. They're tied for first.
Yeah, we're 3 races through this season right now. Tony Stewart typically he's never won a race in this series in the month of February or March, I don't believe. So for him to but hell, he came close last week to finally destroying that record that I'm sure he would love to destroy. And but yeah, it's been a good year for him so far. Kurt Busch had a great speed weeks. He's ran well week in and week out for the first 3 races, but we have Bristol coming up a week from Sunday, so things could change.
Carl Edwards is up 9 spots into third, 106 points. He is not far behind, 7 points behind the leaders.
Like Russ mentioned earlier, you can't have a bad finish and be competitive in this, looking for a berth in the chase. And he's been just very consistent. Great cars.
Juan Pablo Montoya up 5 spots. He sits in 4th, followed by Ryan Newman up 3 spots into 5th. You're mentioning the homeland of Juan Pablo Montoya. Not so happy that he's a superstar nowadays.
Yeah, he made mention that the women in Colombia don't like him because he's too uppity now. Is that crazy or what? But how about Ryan Newman and teammate Tony Stewart? Yeah. Both of the Stewart-Haas cars, top 5.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
That's a big move from last year.
Well, we'll see if they can carry that momentum. I mean, that's the biggest thing. We're only 3 races into this season, so we'll see if they can carry that. But yeah, it's been a good year so far for Ryan Newman.
Paul Menard sitting in 6th. He's up 5 spots. 9 spots climbed up 9 spots is Martin Truex Jr. in 7th. Denny Hamlin is up into 8th. J.J. Allmendinger is in 9th. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's run pretty consistent the last few weeks, finished in the top 10 here a week ago at Las Vegas. He's sitting in 10th. Mark Martin in 11th, and Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's in 12th.
It's early in the season.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling he's not going to be there very much longer.
I would have that same.
See, it's kind of interesting. Shane mentions, a 9-spot jump. Folks, as we get into Bristol and some of these other tracks, those little big jumps or big drops are going to change. Once we start solidifying ourselves, getting into April and May, you're going to start seeing the pretenders and the contenders start coming out. Right now, I don't buy too much into a point system right now. I mean, yeah, it's great for Stewart-Haas, it's great for Kurt Busch and Denny Hamlin and guys like that. But we'll have to see if they can stay consistently there, if they can continue. But you guys know, man, it's a tough business.
It is.
It's a tough business. I mean, and to try to stay consistent week in and week out is tough.
All right, news stories in the world of racing. Danica Patrick is kind of been the hottest topic this last week. Makes history, finishes 4th in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. I thought that she did pretty good job in the media center after with the interview. I know a lot of people were really hyping it. The media was hyping it. And I thought she did a good job. She didn't, I don't think she really acted like she won the Daytona 500 or anything like that, but she certainly was proud of herself.
I was very impressed with the way she conducted herself in the media center.
I got to be honest with you. I mean, we were watching this race. I'm on pit road, and I didn't realize she finished 4th until we got into the media center. And then I look up at the scoring monitor, and I said, it showed in 4th place, the 7 car, Danica Patrick. And, I've often been down on her because, I mean, she really hasn't done much in her stock car career. But then I was reminded of something. I thought everybody was reminded of something last Saturday at the media center. She's only had 16 starts. That's it.
She's only had 16
She's
starts
only had 16
in a
stock car.
In a stock car.
Absolutely. And
it's not like she came from playing football into a stock car. She is a racer. I was a little bit bent over that comment. Yeah, how many starts? But how many starts did Trevor Bayne have in a stock car?
Okay, but let me ask you this question. Where did Trevor Bayne come from? Where did Trevor Bayne come from?
Dude, racing's racing. And
Trevor Bayne came from a stock car background. Kurt Busch came from a stock car background.
Kurt Busch is qualified.
I don't know if you
12.
watched Tony Stewart early on in his stock car career, but it almost appeared the guy didn't even belong behind the wheel of a stock car. Everybody who ever has gone from an open wheel car to a stock car, it's totally different. It's totally different. The car acts differently. They're heavier. The tires are different. Everything's different about it.
Well, how did Jeff Gordon do when he came up?
In 1992, he balled a lot of cars up. In fact, in 1993, he couldn't even get out of his way. He couldn't even get out of his own way. It took him until 1994 until he finally won his first Sprint Cup Series race, and that was at the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte.
I'm not denying that she has.
She was two laps down in this race.
Well, you know,
and she came back and finished
if it wasn't
fourth.
for the Aaron's lucky dog, she would have finished 2 laps down too. I mean, let's face it.
Well, we can say that about any.
We can say that
any weeks.
Exactly.
I mean, come on.
So. And now, and in today's, what goes on in today's racing, to be 2 laps down is definitely a disadvantage. But you still have a shot at winning the race because of if you've got the car because of the lucky dog. It's not like she powered around him and got her laps back. She got awarded a lap back.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying she isn't a good driver. And
I guess Trevor Bayne got totally lucky because David Reagan, without that penalty, Trevor Bayne never would have won the Daytona 500. Right?
No arguing.
There is a lot of elements in racing, and I've never been one to try to take anything away from somebody when they finish well because this happened or that happened or this happened. Hey, that's part of the whole. That's the event.
That's
that racing,
and that's like
and
saying
she did not give up.
And that's like saying, well, we know that James Stewart is the best racer out there on the dirt track when it comes to Supercross, but Brian Villapoto has got the win and is the points leader. I don't want to take a thing away from Ryan Villapoto because he still had to keep his bike straight.
Absolutely.
He still had to keep it on the track, and he still had to win the race by finishing in first.
Right.
Just like James Stewart did, just like Danica Patrick has to do to finish up there in the top 5. She still has to wheel that car around without putting it in the wall, without bumping somebody else or putting them into the wall or both of them. She still has a job to do that the 42 others out there have to do.
She ran a great race.
So
I don't
want to take anything away. And I do want to remember that she's only been in 16 events.
That's it.
16 events in a stock car.
Yeah.
They're 3,500 pounds.
3,400 pounds.
Yeah, 3,400 pounds versus a Indy car who was probably half the weight.
But 1,200?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
I think she deserves the accolades she's getting, and I don't think that this is a one-time wonder for her. I think she's got some mentors helping her. She has reached out, to her credit, she's reached out to one of the best drivers, arguably, Johnny Benson, for help. Johnny Benson has been really helping her this year, coaching her and working with her. Also, Chad Knaus. Her and Chad Knaus hang out with each other quite a bit, and she gets a lot of help from him on the other side of things with the cars and understanding it. So I think she's going about it the right way, and I think Tony Eury Jr., her crew chief, has been very patient with her to get her there.
Well, look at one of the best drivers in the world, Juan Montoya. Montoya has won the Indy 500. He won Formula One races. He has just one win in NASCAR's top division, and that was on a road course. And he's considered one of the best.
Yeah, and right now, Danica Patrick, in the points championship standings, is sitting 4th, which is pretty impressive. Now, granted, I know the regulars are not in there.
Right, exactly, sure.
But you've got in Nationwide Series championship standings, you've got Reed Sorensen, who's first, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who is second, Jason Leffler third, Danica Patrick fourth, and Justin Allgaier rounding out the top
I will
five.
say this. They do head to Bristol next week. And I think even she has alluded to that, this is unlike anything that she has ever done. Going to Bristol in a stock car. I don't know. I don't think she's ever even been on a short track. I don't think. Well, I guess Richmond. But this is a whole new ball game for her. And I mean, look at somebody like Trevor Bayne. Bayne goes out, he wins the Daytona 500, and then he's humbled a week later at Phoenix, and then he came back and had a strong finish last Saturday. He finished fifth in the NASCAR Nationwide Series race. And like you said, it's just a learning. It's all about learning. Every time that any driver can strap themselves into a race car, it's all about gaining experience. And right now, drivers like Danica Patrick and Trevor Bayne and even Kevin Conway and guys like this, they've got to get seat time. And next week is going to be a handful for her when they head to Bristol.
All right, let's real quick before we go to a break. Kevin Conway and Robbie Gordon had a little pushing and shoving match following qualifying at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The local police in Vegas was called, Clark County Police Department, and apparently this is still under investigation. But there's a debt that is owed to Kevin Conway, from what I understand, by Robbie Gordon Motorsports that's been unpaid, and that's part of the whole deal here with Kevin Conway confronting Robbie Gordon in the garage area, and it got into a little pushing, shoving match. I guess actually Conway confronted the car owner, Joe Nemechek. Are they connected, Joe Nemechek and Gordon?
Oh yeah,
they're partners, right?
You mean Robbie Gordon confronted Joe Nemechek?
No, Kevin Conway.
Oh no, Kevin Conway drives for Joe Nemechek.
Okay, so it was Joe Nemechek, I guess, that I don't know, because it says in the statement I read, it says Conway went on to accuse Gordon of, Gordon confronted car owner Joe Nemechek. That's what happened. And then that's when Conway got involved. But anyway, I didn't see it.
I didn't either.
I heard about it the next morning.
Yeah, I guess this happened Friday following qualifying, from what I understand. I guess it happened on last Friday in the garage area, like you said. And look, it's really none of my business, but I'm assuming that Conway was probably trying to collect this debt. My assumption is he probably would not have gone about it the way he did had Robbie Gordon already paid this debt. So I'm assuming that he probably tried to contact him, and then finally he just said, "Hey, I'm going to go confront him."
And part of the other side of that I could find out while we were down there was that part of the reason for the confrontation in the first place is because Robbie Gordon allegedly wasn't paid by the sponsor that Conway brought to the team when he was driving for Gordon.
Yeah, it was like, what, $27,000?
That's where it started.
So that's where it started.
It was a bunch of money, at $27,000 that he was owed. Apparently, it was a bigger deal than what is it's what being advertised.
Right.
We heard some grumblings in the press room down there about it, but Conway went on to say that he basically grabbed me, and he says he grabbed me, and then he grabbed me by the throat and got me down on the ground, and it was pretty crazy, but pretty short. It didn't last very long, I guess. There was a ton of witnesses around or whatnot, according to Kevin Conway. So kind of all still under investigation. Hey, we've seen this on the local level, clear on up. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know, this is maybe a little different situation because this isn't what happens after a race. What happens after a race is kind of a carry-on from the competition.
Right.
A little pushing and shoving in a football game, if you will.
Right.
This is a little different. This is a debt that's owed and purposely going over and confronting.
Sure.
And there's kind of a rule of thumb in racing that you don't really go over into somebody else's pit to cause controversy or whatnot.
Well, like I said, I think the only reason he may have done this is perhaps, again, he's trying to collect this. And I mean, I have no idea. I know Robbie Gordon's side is saying that, Kevin Conway's making stuff up, and, so who knows? Who knows? But, yeah, the Las Vegas Police Department apparently is still investigating this.
Yeah.
The last thing I heard, so.
There is no race in NASCAR. However, there is a truck race tonight. You can catch the Camping World Truck Series. That'll be underway this evening.
I still say that's the best ticket NASCAR has to offer.
Amen.
The best.
The Camping World Truck Series.
Oh, love them.
That is exciting, and I'm excited to go to Vegas to watch them when they come back
with IndyCar.
With IndyCar, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun here.
And I'm excited to watch the qualifying show for the NHRA, because right now Kurt Busch is in 12th.
Oh yeah, that's right. He is in Gainesville right now, isn't he?
Is he in? Is that not in?
This is after the third.
What does he have to do to be in?
He's got to be one of the top 16, and he's
12th.
He's looking
going to make
tough.
It.
He's looking pretty tough.
He's going to make it.
Now,
shut up.
Are you sweating yet?
Yes.
Does he have any drag racing experience?
Yeah. He actually has. He owns his own drag race.
Oh, he does. Oh, okay. All right. So this is not new to him then.
It is at this level.
At this level, okay.
This is like going from the Bandoleros to the Sprint Cup in.
Wow, that is a huge jump.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, Darlington race tonight. The Too Tough to Tame 200, Camping World Truck Series will be on Speed, and I believe it starts at 3 p.m. local time here in Salt Lake. So There you go, Darlington. All right, coming up next, we'll talk more NASCAR. Stay tuned. It's the Racing Fan, 1320K Fan, the sports leader.
You're listening to the #1 rated racing show on 1320K Fan, the sports leader.
All right, welcome back, 1320K Fan, the sports leader. I wonder what Big T, Tony Abbott's got coming up on the
Inside the
Outdoors show coming up here. I saw him let some air out of some kitties, as he likes to. Well, we'll get him in here in a minute and find out just how he tackled those kitties and did that. They're big. Did you see that? Did you see that on the Facebook?
Yeah.
Big.
By the way, I do want to mention of course, we saw the events that took place in Japan yesterday with that 8.9 earthquake, and the tsunami that soon followed. Hawaii was also affected. California was affected some, but not near. I mean, obviously Japan was the epicenter of this, and actually, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but the public relations director at RMR, Rachel, has family who lives in Japan. And I did speak with her yesterday. They said she's fine, that they're fine. I guess her dad is there. Her grandmother lives there. And but definitely pray for them. Pray for the people out there in that region. Boy, there was, sadly, as they continue cleaning up, the death toll is going to rise, unfortunately. And there's been a lot of damage. I don't know if you guys saw those videos online about how that's. I mean, and my dad and I were talking last night. I don't think we realized the force of that water. I mean, it was collecting everything. I mean, it was taking these big fishing vessels like they were tinker toys and just throwing them around. I mean, it was just wow, just tragic. 8.9, largest quake recorded in 100 years in that region, or I think it's the largest quake ever in Japan, I believe. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, and it's not only that, but they're getting large aftershocks.
Well, and that's the thing. They had an aftershock of 7.2, which is considered a major earthquake.
That is a major earthquake.
Yeah, and here we are,
And they had another 6.4 this morning aftershock.
That's tough. Yeah.
Man.
And they had one of the nuke plants
pop off this morning. A lot of homeless people, I feel bad for them.
And the good thing is Japan does have the resources to rebuild. I mean, unlike Haiti and countries like this, but still, if you get an opportunity to donate or whatever, do it, because, there are certain parts of the country that, Japan's got a very strong economy, I believe. So it's not like other countries, like I said, Haiti, for example, or nations like that who are hurting, but it's still devastating. I mean, there's still, a massive loss of life there. And again, other nations were also affected, but not like Japan was. So I just want to throw that out there.
Very good. real quick before we cross-talk with Tony, Daytona, Darlington tonight with the Truck Series. What do you expect to see with the Truck Series?
And I'll tell you,
we love the Truck Series.
I still think that the Camping World Truck Series is the best ticket to buy in NASCAR. And at Darlington, you were reading something that Jeffrey Earnhardt already smacked the wall. Well, welcome to Darlington, Jeffrey.
A backup car.
You know, I'll tell you, it's going to be a fun race, and those guys are not afraid to let it hang, no matter where they're at. That's what I love about the Truck Series.
And Darlington is an exciting track in itself. I mean, it really is.
I think if you were just to run around it, you could probably smack the wall. I'm absolutely convinced of that. I think some way, somehow, it would reach out and grab you. Even if you're on the apron of the racetrack, I think it would still grab you. Boy, that's tight, you know?
Yeah. Good racing.
Steve, what do you think of Darlington?
Well, I mean, the history of that track.
It's sad they took the second Cup date from there.
Yes, the history of that track and how tough it is and how close the racing is. And I don't mean close racing as in nose to nose. I mean close racing as in narrow. It's going to be a very, very exciting race.
You know, one of the most exciting Cup finishes I ever saw there was between Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch. What a great race that was! I mean, that was a photo finish. That was a great battle. Those two, I thought, boy, I didn't know you could get too wide like that at Darlington. You know, even going too wide there is treacherous. You know, it's the only racetrack I know that if you're going to go too wide, it's still treacherous. But somehow Kyle Busch still manages to come out of there in one piece every week.
Hey, by the way, what's the schedule today for coverage of BYU and San Diego State? Do you know what time the guys are coming back on? You know, Russ?
You know, I don't know, actually.
We actually have a Jazz game tonight, so Jazz will be dominating 1320 K-Fan.
I got you.
Then other NCAA action will be over on 12:30 a.m.
All right, there you go. Should be good.
Yeah, in fact, Utah State, I think they're in the championship game, right?
Yeah, we will have the Utah State game
over
tonight.
on 12:30. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we will have the Utah State games.
I watched that game, and man, I'm telling you what, that Jimmer Fredette, he's for real, man.
But he dropped 52 points.
52
freaking points last night.
52 points.
I mean, it didn't matter where he threw it up; it went in. Off balance shots, deep shots, layups. The kid was like out of control. And he's out of control all the time.
Yeah.
Man, what a gift of greatness there. Absolutely. But that'll be an exciting game. We'll see if they can't pull off the trifecta with San Diego State.
That would be great if they did.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
Tony Abbott has been letting some air out of some little
kitties
this last week.
What's up with that?
Hello, fellas. Did we do our picks?
There's no race
this week. Well, there's no Cup race this week.
Shows you what I knew because I've been chasing lions for 30 miles.
Who are you going to pick to win the no race today?
Tony Abbott.
Tony Abbott.
I was out. That's who I was going to pick.
How did we do last
Abbott.
week?
Well, you did good.
Who did you pick last week?
Oh, are you talking about in the picks or?
I took who did I take? It was the winner. I know. It was,
was not the winner.
Carl Edwards. Get out of here.
Yeah, Carl Edwards.
I'm the one who picked Carl Edwards.
Kurt Busch, I believe.
Kurt Busch.
I took the Busch, brother.
I thought you took Kyle.
Was it Kyle?
Yeah.
I took Kyle.
He blew a motor.
Yeah, he blew up.
Everyone I picked blows cylinders and motors.
He had some,
so who do you want to lose? Tell me to pick him.
He let some air out of his engine.
I picked Danica this week.
Danica?
Stop it. Anyway, guys, sorry I'm running late. I just let my guests in. Great show. Talk a little bit about the Lions. Had a great hunt. You guys saw the photos.
I did see the photos. Yeah. That was impressive.
So that was cool. That could have been one of you three.
Big animals.
It was a 6.5 footer. Could have been one of you three.
How many dogs did you have on that trek?
9 total.
9 dogs.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but have you been to New Zealand yet, or no?
No, I leave next Saturday.
I was going to say I don't.
You won't see me here Saturday.
So I'm going to ask a question here, and it may not be a popular question, but are your dogs just? It's like my dog chasing my cat around. Is that kind of how it works?
Other than this cat can eat the dog.
Oh,
yeah. You know, somebody commented on your Facebook, and I absolutely agree with them. You said we are tracking this line, and they said, "Are you sure they're not? She's not tracking you?" Because no, really, because aren't they known for that they will track you?
Let's just say that sometimes it's interesting.
So was it sitting? Was it walking? Was it on a run when you got it?
It was 3 days and 30 miles later we caught it in a tree.
In a tree.
Wow. Now, so you guys actually
out of the tree,
and there was only one you were chasing.
Yes,
or was there
it was
more?
the same lion.
The same one.
Yes.
So it came out of the tree to fight the dogs.
Yeah, and then ran another 500 yards down the hill through 2 feet of snow that we had to go to.
Now, did you know it was there? Did you scope this and know it was there?
Yeah, we found the track.
You found the track. Okay.
So you guys never got a visual on the
One
cat
time
itself.
that had it ledged, and the dogs had it on the ledge, and the lion jumped over the dogs.
Yes.
Took off again.
Are we going to be talking about this on the
Yes.
show?
Oh, okay, well.
All right. Well,
Listen on your way home, boys.
Said.
I'm going to get my guess.
We'll do. All right. Hey, we'll do it again next Saturday, 9 to 11, The Racing Fan. Next week, we have Ryan Villapoto coming on the show, so stay tuned for that. And also
Justin
Barsha, yeah, and who knows who else? We'll be working to get some good guests.
Might be
and then we'll recap the Mini Gold Cup happening tonight at Chico.
Yes, lots happening. All right, Steve Schoenfeld, great job on your part. Russ Sala, thanks a lot for everything you do. Travis behind the glass, and myself, Shane Beck. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week. The Racing Fan, 1320 KFan, the sports leader.